A kids podcast.
You can go slow.
A kids podcast about.
Are you between the ages of 10 and 15? There's something brand new from a kids company about that I can't wait to share. Introducing A Kids Class About, a streaming platform designed for you, focused on careers, life skills, and big ideas to spark your future. Visit akidscode.com for more information. What is creativity?
It's like when you make a picture. Creativity is like when you're drawing something and you get to express yourself a lot.
Creativity is opening your mind to new ideas and kind of letting them flow. Like you can be creative through art, creative through speech, creative through song.
Creativity is just the expression of the fun that you want to have in your brain.
And I think that shows up for everybody different. And I think that's one of the things that led us to wanting to write this book together, because we both have such a different approach to creativity in our daily lives, but we both consider ourselves really creative.
Welcome to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. I'm Ari. My pronouns are they and them. I'm an editor, a researcher, and I'm your host this week. The voices you heard at the top of our show were from Demetria, Ellie, Anya, Stuart, and Sarah. Each week, we talk about the big things going on in your world with a different author from our Kids Book About series.
Hi, my name is Stuart Scott Curran. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a designer by trade, and I am the co-author of A Kid's Book About Creativity.
And I am Sarah Scott Curran. My pronouns are she, her. And I am a wife, a mom, and a business manager for all intents and purposes. And I am Stu's co-author on Kids' Book About Creativity.
Creativity is so big. It's all the possibilities your imagination can dream up. It can be everything from making cupcakes to putting together an awesome costume to so much more.
I think the way that a lot of folks think about creativity is that it means you're artistic. It means you're good at drawing. It means you're good at painting. Maybe you can build things. Maybe you can write good stories. And for us, like, we just think it's much broader than that. We think it's really just about using your imagination. You know, however you use your imagination to invent something, to play a game, to decide what you want to wear today, that ultimately is creativity. You know, it's either solving a problem in a unique way to you, or it's just having fun and letting your imagination go. And ultimately, you know, that really is creativity.
Did you know that your creativity is special? You're going to think of so many amazing creative things, and that will look different from my creativity, or your friends, or your teachers. Your creativity is something that only can come from you.
I believe everyone is creative in all kinds of ways every single day, whether we even notice it or not. You know, like I say, like when you wake up in the morning, you decide what to wear, you decide what you want to have for breakfast, you might decide what book you're going to read that day, you might decide what game you want to play. Those are all creative decisions, you know, and it doesn't have to be about a conscious decision about creating something. You know, I think like your brain is primed to be creative and to solve problems. That really for us is creativity, and you almost do it without thinking about it. I think we are just primed to be creative.
And I think what's cool about creativity is that it's such an individual thing. And so it's really a real innate, honest, authentic expression of who someone is. And so I think it's something that I really enjoy looking for and experiencing in others, because it shows up so differently all the time, which is really beautiful.
Sometimes we tell ourselves that creativity has to look one specific way. That might be really discouraging if we don't see that in ourselves. But maybe there's a different way to see our creative abilities.
If you feel like you're not creative, you're probably creative in a really original and exciting way that you don't yet recognize, because maybe you're not an artistic person. Maybe it's not like an overt, common definition of being creative, but maybe you're expressing that in a way that's really special and unique to you and your skill set. And I think sometimes people think that they're not creative as they get older.
Yeah, the world likes to put us into boxes and neat little packets. And I think like when you're a child and you're creating, you're creative, you're just doing it for the joy. You don't even think about what you're doing or why you're doing it. You're just doing something because you love it. And, you know, as we get older, the world and society likes to kind of like try and put labels on that and, you know, say something is more creative than something else. And ultimately, I think I prefer the definition that is a little bit more undefined as it was, you know, like it doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you're doing it for the joy of it and the love of it, then you are doing something creative.
And I think if you're feeling like you're not creative and you're like, man, I wish I was creative. How could I be creative? Chasing the joy is how you get there.
I want you to think about that for a moment. When you express yourself with creativity, what emotions do you experience? Does it feel energizing, exciting, happy? How does creativity make you feel?
I feel like I love drawing because I do. It makes me feel awesome because I can do whatever I want with my creativity.
Creativity to me is a positive thing because creativity can let you, do your own thing and, flow to your own beat. So usually it makes me happy.
Proud, excited. For myself, as a kid, I always thought that being called or thought of as creative is one of the highest compliments you could get paid. And it was something, I always wanted to be really excellent at art. My dream was that my art teacher, Miss Califf, would put my art up in the art show and I would be picked. And it didn't happen for me until high school, but it did happen one time. But it was like something I really aspired to. And when I think about myself now, I think about owning my creativity in like a very different way than a lot of people, but I feel really proud about it because I'm a huge creative problem solver. When you think about skills or tools for creativity, like I think about things that people don't sometimes, like calculators and Excel tools and like math and these kinds of things. And it's something that makes me proud.
I think for me, ultimately, the joy is just in the act of creation. It's about making something bringing something into the world that wasn't there before, and, that can be a piece of writing, that can be something visual, that can be making some food from just, some simple ingredients. I think for me, the joy is in the creation and then, being able to share that with people and hopefully allowing that to become something that brings people together, maybe starts a conversation, maybe makes them smile or makes them laugh. I think that ultimately trying to connect with people through fun things that you bring into the world is really what I think. That's how I feel when feel like I'm being my most creative.
Sometimes when I'm trying really, really hard to do something creative, it can feel intimidating, like there are too many possibilities and maybe I can never get it right or make the right decision. It can be frustrating or discouraging when I'm not able to activate my creative brain. Do you ever struggle when you're trying to be creative? Stuart shared a really great piece of advice that I think will help.
If you have something specific that you want to do, you want to create, it's almost about just thinking about doing something different. Like our brains work in really kind of weird and wonderful and mysterious ways. And they do a lot of work in the background when we're not even noticing it, when we're sleeping, for example. Like, people will say, I'll go sleep on it. Like there's a reason for that. And that is because your brain works in the background when you don't even notice it. And so, my advice to anyone who's trying to come up with an idea for a story or whatever it might be, and you're having trouble is just like, go do something different, go for a walk, go outside, just change up what you're doing. Just think about something different. And unbeknown to you, your brain will continue to work on this problem in the background. And then when you're least expecting it, the answer will pop in there.
Just after the break, we'll hear more about creativity from Sarah and Stuart, and we'll hear a question sent in from a listener. Hi there, Ari here. I work on this podcast, and I wanted to let you know about a new book that's ready for you to buy today. Check out a kid's book about your microbiome, a new book in the series all about the trillions of helpful microbes that keep your body healthy. Learn more by visiting akidsco.com.
Hi, I'm Nikita Simpson.
And I'm Dr. Lockhart.
I wrote a kid's book called A Kid's Book About Emotions.
And I help kids and grown-ups work through their emotions.
This is Everyday Feels, a podcast about emotions for kids and their grown-ups. I think it's so great when you have a person that you trust in your life, that you feel open and able to share everything that's going on inside of you.
I agree, Nikita, because I think it takes so much confidence and bravery in sharing our stories and being vulnerable, because we're trying to normalize talking about feelings and emotions. That means that we all have them, and it's okay to talk about them because we all feel them.
And you're always allowed to feel what you feel.
Let's continue this journey together.
This is Everyday Feels, a podcast about emotions for kids and their grown-ups.
Welcome back to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about creativity with A Kid's Book About authors Sarah and Stuart Scott Curran. Our listener Ellie sent in a question.
How many ways can you show creativity in?
Man, Ellie, there is many ways as you can possibly think of, and then some more. I think that is the honest truth. I don't even know if you started to count the number of decisions that you make in a day, no matter how small they are, they can all be considered, creative thought processes. I like to think of it that way because it feels like it takes some of the pressure off some of the big decisions or the big creative problems that you have to solve. Your brain just gets so much practice all through the day, solving all types of problems in all kinds of creative ways. And I think it's a fun exercise to just try and practice a little bit of mindfulness and try and notice when you're making those decisions. Even if it's something that you do every single day, if one day you happen to do it slightly differently, it's fun to notice that you're, oh wow, that's something I did that was actually creative and I didn't even realize I was doing it. So I think like that would be an interesting exercise for Ellie to actually start counting the ways that Ellie is creative in a day, and I guarantee you're going to get fed up counting by the time, lunchtime.
So creativity can look like big solutions or impressive projects, but it can also look like all the small choices you make every day.
I like to eat Rice Krispies for my breakfast, and instead of milk, I have them with Jell-O. That is real. Cornflakes also work, but Rice Krispies are a little bit better. I don't know. I guess that's a creative decision, even though it's just like, putting two different types of tastes and flavors together at breakfast time. That's definitely a creative decision.
I really hate to be bored, as a person. So I'm always trying to figure out in any situation how to bring joy and interest to it. So one of the ridiculous things that I do, which Stu and my daughter can be very embarrassed by, is I'll just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to walk silly all day. And so like I will just walk funny all day. But like I really hate the mundane. And so like, you know, if I feel like I need to spark joy, like I'll just try to take like the most trite thing or simple thing and just really do it in an unusual way that will make me laugh.
It might be taking a different route to school that day. You know, it might be taking a different path that you haven't been down before. You know, there's just all kinds of ways to be creative. Like we say in the book, like some ways are big ways and some ways are really, really small, but they're all equally creative.
Sarah and Stuart shared how they became authors of a kid's book about creativity.
We got married outside Portland up on Mount Hood in January 2008. And at the time, we were living in Europe, in Amsterdam. And we knew we wanted to get married here. And so we were looking for a photographer and we didn't know anybody. And we ended up connecting with Jelani. And we were like, hey, we don't really have that much money, but you know, if you come up the mountain, take some photographs of our wedding, we'll give you dinner.
It's just such a beautiful presence. He was like his spirit. We had a really small wedding, like, so I think there was only 25 people there. So like he fit in beautifully and he took amazing pictures that are hanging up in our den today and are some of our most cherished moments.
And we kept in touch ever since. And we ended up maybe 3 years or so ago now moving back to Portland, and we caught up with him. And that was when he had the very first prototype book of a kid's book about racism. And he was like, I'm thinking about doing this book, and you know, I'm just kind of showing it to some friends and family, and what do you think of it, you know? And it was just really obvious that it was really needed. It was a fantastic idea. And you know, I said to him, and he had this big idea about doing all kinds of different titles about different subjects, and you know, telling these important stories, and having, you know, kickstarting these important conversations, and so we just happened to be there. But yeah, that was 13 years or so ago, something like that, when we met him up on Mount Hood when he was taking photographs of us getting married, and we've just stayed in touch ever since.
For Sarah, writing this book for kids like you was a really special bit of creativity.
And it was like a childhood dream of mine to be a writer. So like the one spot of creativity I've had a lot of success actually is writing. And so when I was 16, I had a poem published, and all my family and all my friends expected me to grow up and write. And I always thought it was this great thing that I never really got to do or achieve. And so when it came up, it just felt really fated and really fortunate, and it was like a genuine dream come true, and it was a really fun, you know, process, and it was a really great opportunity too, because I think to write this book was really meaningful to me, because I felt like as a kid, if somebody could have talked about creativity a little different to me, I probably would have felt more confident and recognize certain things that I do that are creative, that are really special, and it would have been a really big gift instead of waiting until I was an adult to discover what that really meant for me.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one last bit of wisdom from Stuart and Sarah.
I would just encourage anybody who, you know, is either considers themselves not to be creative, or who sees other people making things and doing things that they feel that they can't do. I would just encourage them to just find their own path, and whatever it is that they find joy doing, just do that, you know, and lean into that and find the thing that you just love to do for the sake of it. And who knows what type of path that might end up taking you down. I think like when we do things from just an authentic place of joy and happiness, that's when, you know, real magic can happen. And so, you know, don't worry about what anybody else is going to think about what you're doing or why you're doing it. Just do it because you love it. and have fun.
And if you're doing something that's like really different than everybody else, that could actually be an awesome thing, right? Looking at things differently, taking different approaches, and having your own creativity show up so uniquely in you. So that thought of being an original and really owning that, that's the beginning of really making your mark on the world, and a mark that only you can make.
Thank you to Sarah and Stuart Scott Curran, authors of a kid's book about creativity, for joining us today. And thanks to our very special Kid Voices for helping make this episode what it is.
My name is Demetria, and I am 5 years old. And my favorite thing to draw are pictures. And then I just take stuff down onto my pictures. My name is Ellie. I am 8 years old, and I live in Maryland. My favorite hobby to do is Rainbow Loom.
Hi, my name is Anya. I'm 13 years old, and I live in Maryland. My favorite things are theater, drawing, and video games.
Thank you, listeners. If you want to be on a future episode of A Kid's Book About, the podcast, or if you have a question you'd like us to consider, have a grown-up email us at listen@akidspodcastabout.com, and we'll send you the details. Today's episode of A Kid's Book About, the podcast, was written, edited, and produced by me, Ari Mathey, with support from Matthew Winner. The show was edited by Chad Michael Snavely and the team at Sound On Studios. Our executive producer is Jelani Memory, and this show was brought to you by A Kid's Podcast About. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found. And if you like this episode, consider sharing it with a friend, teacher, or grown-up.
Hi, this is Matthew, and I'm head of podcasts at A Kid's Company About. We hope you enjoyed this show, and we'd love for you to check out our growing library of shows at A Kid's Podcast About. Whether you're looking for storytelling with crafts and activities, fact-finding with experts and enthusiasts, or looking to explore and understand your world better, we have got a podcast for you. Check out the A Kid's Podcast About channel on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found, or visit akidsco.com.